Alright, so I thought I was going to film these in multiple angles. Kind of like this though. Good setup. Basically I have it on a stick. Like a, I don't even know what it's really for. It's kind of jerry-rigged, but it works. Clamp on a stick. What was I going to show you? Okay, so I wanted to go over real quick how I actually like to run my calls. Again, this is a standard echo insert, but it's completely modified. The reed, or at least the reed's been modified. And the reed has been tipped up, it's been shaved. The bottom reed is a reed that I've actually put in there. That is my reed, and I have shaved that down. We'll see how this sounds. But I want to go over real quick how to make a quack, how to make the chuckle, and then how to do a highball, I guess. So I'll just go through a couple different sounds that I make when I hunt. Typically it's going to be the quacks, the chuckles. I just try to make it sound like there's a bunch of ducks in the area. Nothing in particular. I don't like to sound like a duck, or I don't know, I think people overthink it. I just like to sound like a bird. So this is what I use, this is what I do. Hopefully it helps you. May not be the best advice, and it's definitely not the only advice. So check around. I know Shanahan, Trevor Shanahan, hopefully I'm saying your name right. Go check out his videos as well. He has some outstanding videos on especially how to honker call. That guy can run a honker call like no other. So check him out for that. But here we go with this. So first thing you want to do when you get your call, whatever call it is, they're all pretty much the same. You're going to take your thumb and your pointer finger. Thumb's going to go around it like that. Pointer finger is going to wrap around so you have a real good lock on that. And if you pull on this, you would pop the insert out. So you've got a real good hold on it like that. These three fingers right here are going to be your volume control, tone control. Basically, this is your control system right here. So when you start out, and you actually want to make a quack sound, what you're going to do is, I like to start with the call turned around. This is how I start everybody, because I can kind of hear what they're doing in their mouth and in their chest and in their throat to actually make the sound they're trying to make. But this is the sound that I make as I'm quacking. So we'll start off with a quack and we'll go from there. Whoosh. 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 So I started out with the quack, and you could hear that real guttural, kind of like a grunt almost. I'm sure you can hear it because I can always hear it on the videos. You can hear that. And that's coming from your diaphragm. That's coming from down here. Now, a good way to figure out what that air is, a lot of guys will talk about how you fog glass or you fog glasses. If you ever rode on windows in a school bus like I used to, because, you know, that was the fun thing to do when you had 45 minutes to kill. Basically, fogged glass with the hot air, the hot breath, and then you can play tic-tac-toe. Same principle. You use that same air in these calls, and that's how you get that real guttural, ducky sound. And then you don't want to grunt the whole way through. And I don't even know if I can at this point because it's almost muscle memory what I'm doing. But I'm going to go ahead and try to grunt all the way through the entire call to see if I can make that sound. Because that is the hardest thing that I had a problem with when I was starting out, when I started out learning how to call, was I would always grunt too much. And I had nobody had ever told me that. So I had to figure that out on my own. But I'll see if I can do it here for you real quick. So that's just grunting through it and almost humming into the call the entire time. And you can hear the only up and down notes that you're hearing is because I'm doing it with my hand. Now, when you're doing it correctly, you want to do it with both your throat, your diaphragm, and your hand. And to get back to that diaphragm air, another good way to think about getting that out is if somebody hits you right underneath your sternum. I believe it's your sternum, the basically the center part. You have the center part of your bone right here, this chest plate, and if you go down far enough, you're going to hit a soft spot. It's going to go from hard to soft. And that soft spot, if somebody hits you right there when you're not ready for it, you're doubled over, coughing and choking. And I believe that's where your diaphragm is. Don't quote me on that because I'm no medical doctor, but anyhow, breathe from there. Try to cough up or use that really deep air to grunt and make that real ducky sound, and then taper it off. So again, through the back of the call, it sounds like this when you're doing it correctly. And I'm really over accentuating that. So through the front of the call, pretty simple. And again, I'm going to show you single quack through the back, single quack through the front, and we'll go from there. So through the back, a single quack is going to sound like this. Through the front, a little bit loud, my bad. Trying to drag that out. Better. Okay. So, how do we get the feed chuckle? That's the next one that everybody likes to use, and I throw this in all the time. This is one of my go-to things. I like to quack really softly and then break right into a feed chuckle, and it's actually if you've ever watched birds fly around, they'll do it, and I don't know if it's the drake or the hen. I'm assuming it's the hen, because they do make the majority of the noise. Drakes make some weird noises if you ever actually listen to them. But anyway, the hen will actually make this feeding chuckle, the but typically it's when they're flying. They're not actually making this sound on the ground eating. But when you get a whole group of ducks together, you know, several dozen birds out in the field, there's probably going to be one duck that's sitting on the ground making some kind of noise, kind of like that. They do make that noise, but it's not quite as defined as they make it in the air. But again, my whole goal when I'm hunting is just try to sound like a group of real birds. And some birds are going to sound high-pitched, some are going to sound low-pitched, some are going to feed fast, some are going to feed slow. They make all kinds of really weird noises that you wouldn't expect birds to make unless you just sit there and listen to them. So I'll give you a real quick demo of what that sounds like through the back and again through the front, and we'll go from there. So to start out, you want to make that ticka 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 or dugga dugga. I don't really know how to use words. I've never really understood that. But when I do it, I just, what do I do? I guess we'll see. We'll start out going through the back, so, or through the front to the back, so it's making no noise. So what's happening inside my mouth is a lot of the times, it depends on what I'm trying to do. If I want to drag a note out so it's really ground together with the other notes, I will actually anchor my tongue a lot like people do goose calling. And I will anchor it, if these are your bottom teeth, okay, facing forward. These are your teeth coming down, teeth coming up, or teeth coming down, teeth going up, like that. I put my tongue, the tip of my tongue, on my bottom teeth, and I lay it on there, and I use this arch in my tongue to go up and down and kind of hit that air pocket and close that air pocket off. And that's how I make that feeding chuckle sound. And it starts off really, really slow and really, really choppy, and it sounds terrible when you start. It always does. But then it becomes muscle memory, and you can just roll all day long with it. But I like to work it in with, again, the quacks, the some of the small, like, lower end high balls, I guess. I don't like to get too loud, too crazy, but this is what it sounds like when you mix it in. If you want to mix that in with the real slow stuff, like a lot of guys do, and I do this as well. I'll do that a lot when the birds are right on top of you and they are breathing down your neck, but you need to get them to do one more pass because you need them in the right spot, or you need them to get a little bit lower. That's typically when I'll use it. And then to finish up, the last thing I do, if we're losing birds and they're basically gone anyways, I'm assuming they're lost birds, they're lost cause. Because I've tried calling at them with everything else. We've tried, whether it's a mojo or whatever we have, we've tried everything. Sorry guys, power button came on, distracted me, completely cut out. So I was talking about the highball. When I actually use that highball and when I really get loud and get after those birds. So I will actually do it 2 different times. One, when I assume the birds, there's no way in hell they're going to hear me. Otherwise, if it's a really super windy day, I'll highball at them and try to get their attention. And I will also highball at birds that are going away and I'm assuming are a lost cause. Meaning we've tried everything. Maybe we shot one and the other one's kind of going away, but it kind of showed signs that it was wanting to come back and land. That can happen a lot of the times if you dump a lead bird and then the one behind it, a lot of the times, will just sit down, if you've ever seen them do that. Anyway, on a bird like that, that could potentially come back in, but I'm assuming it's a lost cause because we've already scared the living shit out of it, I like to highball. And you do that by, again, we're going to start off with blowing from the front to the back so we can hear what it actually sounds like, what's going on inside of me. It starts off with a real high. Kind of like that. And you really want to force a lot of air through it, a lot of volume, and get a lot of sound to come out of your call. That's the idea. You want that bird to hear you and almost demand that it comes back, right? And again, don't do that, please, opening up on birds, because it scares the hell out of birds, especially call-shy birds. But if they're a lost cause, why not? You know, you're not going to lose anything for it because the bird's already gone. And it'll probably help you practice. That's when I like to practice on my birds as well, is when they're turning around and going. Because you got to practice sometime. So, through the back to the front, so you can actually hear what the call sounds like. And there were a couple loud quacks at the end. So, anyway, hope this helps out. Hope this wasn't dragging on too long. Let me know how you like it. More of these to come if you do. If not, give me some constructive criticism. I'll try to tone it up for the next time. So, thank you for watching, guys. Appreciate it. Have a good one.